Far Cry's been a household name since Far Cry 3's release back in 2012, and has only continued to grow and expand the series in ways that it could have only dreamt of back with its initial debut. When Far Cry 3 released, it had a much larger cultural impact than Ubisoft or anyone else could have ever expected. Riding high on the success of that game, less than 5 months later, they released the standalone DLC, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. When Blood Dragon was announced, it was at the peak of 80s nostalgia. Synth music, Daft Punk, Tron, and so many others were taking inspiration from that time period, and Far Cry was no different. But rather than taking a direct approach, the team decided not only were they going to make this game a parody, but they were doubling down and making fun of themselves.
I fucking hate tutorials, and this one is terrible.
With its quick development, the game has no cutscenes of any kind and instead opts for stylistic motion comics, and I really came to enjoy these. The thing about the game is that it knows what it is, and it wants to be a parody. You are the best soldier, and you are a badass. Other than forgetting to heal yourself or the fire damage, there really is no way for you to die in the game. On a side note, when you take fire damage, you're required to press the heal button to put the fire out, but there's a delay on when the prompt to put out the fire comes up, and it's never consistent. You will be wasting syringes when you want to extinguish yourself, and why would you design the game this way? I can't remember Far Cry 3 being like this, dude, come on. You play as Rex Colt, the cliche 80s action hero, who was brutally destroyed in combat and rebuilt as a super soldier. You are tasked with breaching an unnamed research island in the futuristic time period of 2007. Your previous leader, Commander Sloan, has gone rogue and created a group of cyborg soldiers along with using mind control devices on the local blood dragons to cause even more chaos. The general gameplay loop of the game is a watered down version of what Far Cry 3 has to offer, but that's not to say the game can't stand on its own, and it sure is a damn good time. You'll be breaching into enemy outposts and doing silly hostage rescue missions, or even some where you're required to kill a stronger enemy type with a specific weapon. The rewards often don't relate to the weapon you used for that encounter, which is strange, but I'll allow it. There are 7 different weapons that the player can use, anything from a pistol with a switch to a full-out minigun. I really like the weapon selection here. My only complaint is that there's no customization for the bow and arrow, no ability to add a new sight or change the color, and frankly the bow is 100 times brighter than anything else in the game, so it makes carrying it around the open world almost blinding for somebody like me with an astigmatism. It's like, why are car headlights so damn bright these days? I can't see when I'm driving. I mean the bow. I can't see when the bow is glowing in my face. I think the real crown feature of this game is the blood dragons themselves. They'll roam around the world aimlessly, killing anything in their path. Otherwise, as you kill and loot the cyber soldiers, you obtain cyber hearts. These can be thrown to attract any nearby blood dragons, where you can use them to distract or even obliterate enemies for you. Then you either have to kill or lure the dragon away from any of your outposts. And I think that this adds even the slightest bit of variety to the outpost system that's still needed in the series over a decade later. But let's talk about why the game's been collecting dust on the back of gamers' minds. Truly, I think that the game is awesome. I think that it has flaws, but it knows those flaws. It knows that it's a quick DLC for a far greater game, and it knows that it's not going to hold your attention for even close to 10 hours, which is why there are only 7 main story missions. Seriously, you can easily complete the game and its 19 achievements in under 10 hours of playtime, but those 10 hours are just pure fun. There's no upgrade trees to worry about, and instead Rex just levels up and has preset skills associated with every few levels. I enjoy this system in a smaller game like this because it makes me feel less like I'm wasting my time becoming a cyber soldier, and instead I already am one. The main story is fine, but honestly forgettable. Where this game succeeds is in its speed and size. The game is big enough. The map is small, but I really enjoy that. It's large enough where when I look at an area in the distance, it seems far away, but you move so fast and the map is small enough where I barely used a vehicle during my entire playthrough. Running and jumping is a breeze with 0 fall damage. The game is purely focused on getting you to the action. You can't walk to a new mission without running into at least 3 to 4 groups of enemies on the way there. And that's not to mention the dragons or the wildlife that's scattered throughout the map. The game still has so many of the features that made Far Cry 3 memorable, but takes out so many of the things that prioritize a menu and instead focuses on the gameplay itself. You'll rarely ever find yourself in a menu in this game unless you're in the weapon shop. But the absolute weakest part of Blood Dragon is its story. And like I said, it's forgettable and predictable, but I think that's the point. They didn't set out to tell a story even remotely as meaningful as its predecessors, and instead they decided to tell the most predictable story possible. That way you don't have to pay attention to the story. Like I said, the game hates when it takes control away from the player, and there are rarely moments like this in the game. Honestly, there really isn't much else to say about the game. It's quick, fast-paced, and just a damn good time. You will feel badass while you're playing, and you'll laugh at least once, even if it's just a quick exhale through your nose. If you enjoyed any of the Far Cry games, or even just are a fan of shooters in general and are looking for an evening to kill, you can knock this entire game out in a sitting or two, and you won't regret it. It's literally on sale as I'm writing this for $3. The game is pretty much able to run on any system built in the last 15 years, so go out and get yourself a copy. Ubisoft finally added Steam achievements to the game, and there's no way less than 1% of people have completed the first garrison. Please, I don't want this to be my rarest achievement.